Hey, hola. So by now, everybody's aware of what happened in South Florida in Parkland with the shooting of the 17, mostly children and a couple of adults in the Parkland High School. I am at a loss. I'm at a loss for how this continues to happen. And before you think that you know where I'm going with this, let me just tell you I'm pro-gun. I'm pro-gun. Both my husband and my older son are ex-military. They are also pro-gun. We've always had guns in the household. They've always been locked and very safely stored. Both my sons have learned to handle a gun. They've learned to shoot a gun with our supervision at a gun range, because I don't believe in hunting for sport. I'm okay with hunting for sustenance, because that's a lot of people live off of that. But hunting for sport is just to me personally, my view is that it's just cruel. It's baseless cruelty. But yeah, so we're pro-gun. We're a pro-gun family. I'm going to say that. But that said, there's no reason why a mentally and emotionally challenged 19-year-old who's been through the system and who the FBI was alerted about should have ever gotten his hands on any type of weapon, let alone the type of weapon, the AR-15 that he got his hands on. But I'm not here again. I'm also not here to talk to you about how guns don't kill people and how people kill people and how, let's just keep all the guns in circulation. No. What I believe is that we should be jumping through hoops to prove that we are worthy of gun ownership. Not everybody and their brother is worthy of owning a gun. It's a deadly weapon. You have to go through testing to prove that you can drive a car. You can't even rent a car until you're 25. There are so many things that we can do to make this not be an issue. We should not ever let anybody get a weapon until they're 25, just because, your impulse control hasn't even finished forming yet. So that's number one. Number two, like I said, you should have to jump through hoops to prove that you're worthy of owning and handling a weapon. The licensing should be stricter. You should have to take mandatory courses, unless you're ex-military. If you were in the military at some point, obviously you've had training with a weapon quite extensively compared to your average civilian. So the average civilian definitely needs to go through training. And all of this can be paid for by, taxing the gun sales. We don't need to go crazy with how we, how we finance stuff. It's simple. Again, it should not be so easy to get a gun. A gun is a very, very serious purchase. And so if it needs to be more expensive, let it be more expensive. If you feel that a gun is important to you, then it's important enough to pay more money and pay the taxes that it takes to, have you go through the testing and the qualification. That testing and qualification, by the way, should also be happening every 5 years, every 5 to 10 years, whatever, would be deemed safer. But because people go through change in their lives, and someone who had been at a good place in 1990 might be at a different place in 2000 because maybe they got divorced, they're going through depression, whatever. When you go and you get tested and you have trained personnel that learns how to assess when somebody is off and that they shouldn't be given a license to carry, and that maybe they need to be put on a waiting period, to have them go through some kind of psych eval or whatever. And I don't care that people are going to get mad and say, oh, it infringes on my Second Amendment rights. Listen, the Constitution was created and it wasn't perfect. The Constitution was imperfect because it did not cover slavery. When this Constitution was created, slavery was a very integral part of the forming of this country. And so, sorry, you can't tell me that the Constitution was perfect and infallible. The Constitution also did not cover women's rights. I would not have been able to vote a mere 100 years ago or so, give or take. So that doesn't work. Civil rights, everything that has to have been amended, it's baloney. So anybody that tells you, oh, Second Amendment, Constitution, the Second Amendment was created in a time in our country where our society was very different. Society changes. Society recognized that slavery was a bad thing, so our laws changed. Society recognized that people needed civil rights, so our laws changed. Society recognized that women needed the right to vote, women needed the right to own property, so the laws changed. So guess what, folks? Society has changed to the point where this kind of violence is more commonplace. People, society, or certain members of our society are choosing the path to extreme violence to deal with emotions, issues, whatever is going on in their lives. So laws need to change. So yeah, we need to make it stricter to get a gun. I'm fine with jumping through hoops to prove that I am a worthy gun owner. And I think anybody who's serious about safety and about children's lives and our lives would be like, no problem, I can jump through hoops. I'm not a weirdo. I'm not a nut. I'm not a quack. I deserve the right to carry a gun. Simple as that. That's all I have to say. Again, it's just, I believe in gun ownership. I believe in responsible gun ownership. And clearly that's not happening. A lot of things are falling through the cracks. This kid fell through, there were so many points of failure with this poor kid. And I say poor kid because clearly he's a disturbed child. You could tell from everything that they've reported, and you can tell just by looking at his pictures, he's not there. That child should never have been, the points of failure were, the 30 times or so that the police were called to his home for domestic disturbance issues, the school expelling him because he brought, I believe, bullets or some type of ammunition. Like, hello, report that. That shouldn't be just a school thing. That should be anytime a child brings a deadly weapon to a school, the FBI should be alerted. That's like no brainer, because the FBI should then investigate through their local office to see if there were any domestic disturbance calls to that house. Just common sense, common freaking sense. That's a point of failure at the school, at the police, the local law enforcement level, at the FBI's level, where it was reported by somebody that knew them and nothing was investigated. And then, sadly, the family that took him in after his mother passed away allowed him, knowing he had issues, to bring a weapon into their home. They said that it was in a locked safe. Yeah, but he had the key. How is that safe? The person who is not mentally capable of having a normal life, right? Of being on their own at 19, that person has a key to the gun safe. I can't comprehend it. All of these points of failure led to this horrendous act, and now there are 17 families that are absolutely destroyed. And as a parent, I can't fathom losing a child. I went through losing my only sibling 2 years ago this month, actually. It was sudden. He had a heart attack in his sleep. And I'm just now able to go back to a normal view of life, normal existence. But it was a devastating thing to go through. And that wasn't my child. I can't imagine losing a child and losing a child that violently, knowing that their last moments on this earth were violent and that they were scared and that I couldn't be there for them. It's just atrocious, and we can do better. We can do better. Shame on anybody who's politicizing this to the point where, you know, nothing's going to get done. If you look at the history of the gun laws, everything has been, it'll go into effect for a little while, then it'll run out, then politicians fight over it. Clearly the gun lobby has so much money and is in everybody's pockets. And again, you don't have to take away everybody's guns. All you have to do is put in laws and put in procedures that keep everybody safer and keep the guns out of the hands of maniacs. Yeah, so that's all I have to say. As you can tell, I'm shaken by it, because the more I think about what these families have gone through, it absolutely devastates me. I feel so bad for them. So that's it. Hope I didn't give you too much of a downer. And what I really hope is that it makes you think, and it makes you think about who we're putting into office and what they're doing and who they're beholden to, because frankly, that's the only way that things are going to change, is if we elect people that actually give a damn. All right.